Welcome back to Big Red Rant, your number one stop if you're a Colorado fan to watch Husker fans / creators eat crow. Hit that like for us before we get started and tell us in the comments, did you see this coming? Or did you think Nebraska was going to win? Oh my God, Gary. Obviously, we were split on this game, and this one went my way. Although I did take part in a lot of hype saying that Jeff Sims can win and whatnot, but I'm a bozo. Nobody's disputing that. And now we know what the Husker team really is. But then again, with the offense, we have no idea because we haven't seen them able to field snaps, let alone get into the flow and do what potentially they can do. Would you like to take a second to apologize to Colorado fans for your idiocy?
I mean, from the bottom of my heart, no.
No?
I mean, they're a good team. They got really good skill guys, but the idea that TCU is anywhere close to the same team they were last year, acting like the defense last year wasn't horrid, and the only reason they played in the title games because of their offense, and then we've seen over the years what Nebraska is. I mean, we're not anywhere near the level of most even D1 schools at this point. So it's good on them. They're a good team. Their turnaround is, in full swing. Like you look at most teams would take a couple years to get to where they're at. But I mean, this whole idea and all the hype they're getting as far as national contenders or they're getting more hype than Alabama and Georgia combined or whatever. Like that seems crazy to me. But I think Nebraska especially gave that game away so early. No excuses, man. Not taking anything away from Colorado, but I'm still not all in on the hype. Their turnaround is definitely in full swing and they're leaps and bounds ahead of us. And I wouldn't have disputed that last week. But anyways, that's all I got for Colorado.
So I'm going to take that as a big fat no, you will not eat crow.
No, I'll for sure eat crow because our biggest dispute wasn't saying we wouldn't do the dumb stuff and turn the ball over and everything. I'm saying like planning that into a breakdown or a preview or trying to anticipate it. It's like, well, okay, well then how many or how few or how critical of scenarios, but just looking at what they match up well and what they don't match up well against. I think we saw that early on when we were able to keep the ball long enough to start establishing the run. They started getting bigger and bigger runs. Their defense looked like it was getting a little wore down. Our defense matched up pretty well and was really aggressive. And then as the game progressed and the turnovers progressed, they were able to rest their defense more. Our defense started getting gassed, and then we were behind and having to do different types of throwing and passes and things like that we're nowhere near capable of doing. So it completely flipped the matchup, mismatches and things that both teams were looking for, and it drastically swayed into Colorado's favor. It wasn't like Colorado was thumping running backs and knocking the ball loose or jumping routes and getting interceptions. They were literally getting fumbles handed to him. Sims on a rollout, instead of running and making what he could with his legs, throws it to him. I don't know how many offensive possessions they started off with the ball on their side of the 50. Defense still did a good job early on of minimizing what kind of points they could turn that into, and it was just a matter of time before the dam broke, and then that's how you end up with the final score.
Yeah, it definitely broke. One thing we can at least fully agree on is that neither of us want to see Jeff Sims anywhere near the starting lineup next week. I think you have to roll Harburg out there. I think he might not have the top end speed that Sims has. Maybe he does. He's definitely a good runner. You can tell that already. And we know he's athletic. But as far as passing the ball goes, at this point, and he didn't throw it a lot, he looks just as good, if not better, throwing the ball than Sims. So Rule has got to take responsibility for his misstep in not giving Casey Thompson whatever it was he wanted. Whatever it was he wanted, Casey Thompson was right. Whether he wanted $1 million or to be guaranteed the starting job, he was right and Rule was wrong. It's time to move on and give these other guys a chance.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And it's not just about Jeff Sims at this point, or Rule and Sims or whatever else. It's about a stifling of the rest of the offense. When your quarterback is fumbling snaps and snapping the ball as the guy in motion's running literally behind the center, throwing interceptions, go back to the Minnesota game, turning the ball over in critical spots of the field, ends a potential game-winning drive and takes points off the board right before half and you get the ball back again. It's been a small sample size in 2 games, but we've seen a lot in that small sample size that lets you know your quarterback is preventing everyone else on the offense from not just shining, but seeing what you have. Maybe you've got some guys, maybe you've got other spots you need to switch out, but you can't literally sometimes attempt a possession or to attempt a play because the quarterback's not getting the snap, like the most basic thing, or he's snapping it into the guy in motion instead of, you know what I mean? Like when you're that fundamentally behind the 8 ball, there's no excuse. I don't care what your 40 time numbers are, how much you can bench, what you look like with your shirt off, anything, how you sound in press conference interviews. None of that will make up for or justify the massive gaps and mental errors. I don't want to say just in his game, just seems like that's just how he is on the field. You know, I mean, it's situational. It's when it's not, you know, a dire situation. It's just a dumpster fire, man. And you've got to set a precedent for the team that whether you're the number 1 guy on the roster or the dead bottom guy on the roster, you're not given anything. Nothing's locked in and none of tomorrow's promised. You know, everything needs to be an open battle. You need to keep the competition at the highest peak you can get it at, because you're not just trying to see, can we get the best player out there? You're trying to get guys out there that can play fundamental, very basic fundamental football. Right now you don't have that, and that unfortunately happens to be the most important guy on the field.
To be specific, the reason I want Harburg is because in the post-game press conference, Matt Rule said it was about a week ago when Purdy got injured in practice, and from that point on, it's been Harburg. So I'm fine with either, but a change absolutely has to be made. Let us know what you guys think in the comments. We're going to get to work on the preview for the next game, so we'll see you for that. And then, of course, thanks to everybody who showed up to our live stream. It was a great success. We'll be doing it again for the next week's game. Until then, go Big Red.